I'm going to tell you about my journey when I was going to Texas the other week. So I'll start you off in the beginning before I even left for Texas. About 2 weeks prior to that, I pulled a muscle in my calf, trying to run and catch a football. I looked it up on Google or whatever just to, because it just felt weird, right? Google says you're getting old. Now, I didn't check with AI because AI probably would have been telling me the truth and probably would have been that. But I had that kind of like in my face. Now, what is it? Do I go? Do I not go? Um, I wound up experiencing my car that I was going to take because I drive to my events. I really like to drive if I can. I'm not one to fly. I will fly if I have to. But what I like to do is see the scenery, enjoy the car ride, stop at different places along the way if I have the time. And so my car wound up dying the Friday before I was going to leave. And, I had to figure out how I was going to get there because I was already planning on driving. I already had set days and times. I was going to stop somewhere sometimes. Yes, I could have stopped and went ahead and just booked a flight and flew. Um, but I didn't choose to do that. I wound up just renting a car, which was probably one of the best things, anyways. And I found out, like this car was a Toyota Camry, right? I was like, what is this? That it's been a long time since I've been in a car. I drive an SUV. Apparently, this car got about 40 miles to a gallon, according to what I was reading, and it helped me out in the long run, I guess, with gas mileage and stuff. Plus, it wasn't my car, so I wasn't beating up my car. But I had those two things in the beginning, right? Do I stay or do I go? And something was telling me just to keep going. What that was, I don't know. Now, I will tell you this. I had planned to go to this event for almost a year. So I was invited to go to this event back in July or so of last year, and the event was scheduled for September of last year. Something came up, they had to change it. So it got changed to March of this year, 2025. And then it wound up getting changed to May. And that's the ultimate date, the ultimate month or whatever that fell in where it actually happened. And so there had to be a reason in my eyes that it was postponed, uh, for me, anyways, right? It was postponed for other people, I'm sure, as well, right? So the right people showed up. And I was extremely grateful that I was able to get past, you know, pulling a muscle or whatever, and the idea of not having a car, coming up with, this money that, I didn't have set aside for a rental car, but I made it work. And so what I did was I'm in Pennsylvania. I drove to Tennessee. Tennessee, it depends on where I stayed in Tennessee. So I wound up staying in Knoxville, which is about a 10-hour ride for me. Nashville would have been about a 12-hour ride. So one of those two places. I chose Knoxville for the simple fact that there was another podcaster out there. I was on his show. He was on my show. We just never met in person. So here's a golden opportunity for us to connect, meet each other, and just have a talk. It's always great to have virtual conversations with people that you can't connect with around the world. But if you can find that time where you can connect with them one on one in person, take it. So I did. I did just that. So I booked a hotel in Knoxville. I wound up, it was a long ride. So I wound up just meeting him for dinner. His name is David Keck. He's got a podcast of his own, and he's doing a lot of great things on the other side. But we sat down, we had dinner, we had a great conversation. Most of it was about podcasting. It was not, we didn't plan all that. It just happened to be what the conversation was about. And so we went our separate ways, and I did wind up going to meet him again the next day. But the next day, I had planned to just stay in Tennessee. Like I gave myself space, like a whole day just to see the area a little bit. Now, when I say see the area, I didn't mean like go into town and explore that part. So for me, I wound up going to see some waterfalls. You want to call it this? TikTok made me do it. Why? because I just typed in on TikTok, you know, scenery, nature, whatever in Tennessee, and waterfalls kept popping up. So I found three places to go to. I wound up going to two. I should have went to the third one as well because they're not far from each other. But what it was I stayed at a hotel in Knoxville, and the waterfalls were about 2 hours away. So here I am, like on my day off, driving out to these waterfalls for 2 hours and turn around and coming back, for another 2 hours. Um, I wound up seeing the first one, Bergis Falls, I think it was called. And if you go on TikTok, you see all these videos about it. It looks great. It's beautiful. It definitely is. But everybody's showing you at ground level. Get there, I'm at the top. You can overlook it, see the gorge and everything. You can walk on top of the waterfalls in a sense. Uh, Beautiful. But to get to the bottom, the only way I knew, unless I went ahead and asked a little further, was you have to be in a kayak, the kayak up to the waterfalls. And so there were people in kayaks down there, and that made sense. I don't know of any path that would have taken me down there. If there could have been, I just didn't see it. If there was, um, but hey, it was a beautiful place to go to. Walked about a mile or two and went on to the next park for the waterfalls. I'm trying to remember what the name of that one was. I think it was something Cliff, if I'm right. Clifton. I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyways, I went there and I did not know this either, right? Again, another TikTok made me do it. Beautiful uh, scenery from the ground level, at the waterfalls. Get there. If you wanted to go down in the gorge, you needed to get a permit. It looked like you had to go through some kind of class, I guess, with a life jacket and everything. So I wasn't there for that. I wasn't prepared to sit down and go through all that and whatever the cost would have been. I have no idea. Again, that's another place where if you wanted to be at ground level, you had it. It was another way to get there, right? And these are these both of these were not the ways I wanted to get down ground level. I thought it would be just a path and you could walk there. Not they have to get a permit. Not they have to probably be in a kayak. Regardless, I had another great overlook, and it was a beautiful waterfall to see from above. But down from ground level, from the pictures and everything I see, it looked amazing. So if I ever go through there again in Tennessee, I'll be stopping again if I have the time and, you know, see if I can get down there. Now I know what it's like, right? So I spent time driving back and forth between those waterfalls and I enjoyed myself. And then I went back and then I wound up going over to David's house a little later. And, he's a podcaster. I'm a podcaster. We had a chat before we started podcasting, all things about life, right? And so we did about 20, 30 minutes. It was starting to get a little late. So I had to head back to my hotel soon because I was going to be driving from Tennessee to Texas the next day. But we wound up uh, doing a short recording, right? And so we were in person, side by side. I had microphones with me, and then he also recorded on his computer as well with his mic. And we were just going back and forth, talking about me going to this event, what I'm expecting, what I wasn't expecting. I had, like it was just the idea of going. And then I remember him saying something about I inspired him in a way, or was inspiring for how I was just driving, just to enjoy things and stop, at places on the way. And so I don't know if he's going to do this or not, but he might, go with that and do that sometime in the future of driving somewhere to see somebody and just enjoy it. But that's me. Like this is what I like to do. And I had a great time with David, talking to him, meeting him in person. And I'm sure there's a lot of great things coming up between the two of us as far as connecting and growing podcasts and whatever else we decide to do. Anyways, the next day, got up, drove to um, Texas. It was a pretty long ride. Um, 12, but it should have been about 12 hours. I enjoyed the ride again. Listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, just have dead silence. And, then you could sit there and you could pray if you wanted to, right? These are just the times I like. I get that here at home. I get that when I'm, driving around where I live as well. But still, I don't know. It's just something about that I enjoy the most. I get there, uh, I check in or whatever, and I got to meet some people that evening. So this event was Elena's event, Elena Rodriguez, and it was all about faith and business. And we had a great time meeting each other for the people that were there for dinner. We sat down, some people had some drinks, but I was able to meet. I met Elena once. I met her in Tennessee the previous year at another event, and that's how we connected. I was able to meet Moises and also Bree. So they're relationship coaches. They just started a podcast. So we were able to talk briefly then. Jennifer Bennett, I know from another event or two that I met her before. And then let's see who else was at dinner. I'm trying to think. And if I miss anybody's name, it's just because it slips my mind at the moment. Martha, I met Martha there. She escaped a cult. I just had her on my podcast not too long ago, so that will release soon. And let's see, Julie, I met Julie there. Um, that may have been it. I think JR might have showed. Oh, no, Spencer was there, and Junior JR Junior. He goes by both. He might have showed up towards the end, I think. Anyways, what a great time just to chit chat, get to know each other, and connect a little bit. But then, man, we just had like the next day coming up, and so Elena was she's got this big vision, and she had this huge heart of bringing everybody together. And when I say this, I mean it. Like the right people were there. You go to places, and sometimes you think, okay, it's not enough people, or it's too many people, right? What this was just enough. And I know it's going to be bigger and better next time she does this, but it was just enough because we all got to know each other at a deeper level, connecting with each other, outside of the rooms. I'm trying to think of anyways, the next day we wound up getting in a conference room. So this was all about entrepreneurship. Everybody got to share their piece, what they do, how they help people, ask questions, go back and forth, and see what we could do. I have to hand it off to Elena because I did tell her, I'm like, I liked the way this was set up as far as time wise. If I remember correctly, it was 9 to 3. So it wasn't like too early. It didn't end too late. So everybody still had something to do at night if they wanted to, whether they're getting together or they're meeting up with somebody else or whatever. It was perfect in my eyes. Everybody's different. Every event's different. So everybody in this room got to share and exchange contacts and get to know each other more. Then I know that that night some people went their own ways, and then I wound up. Let's see, it was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday was the next day. So Saturday was a speaking day, and everybody, got their time to share their journey, uh, their their story, whatever they wanted to express to the audience so that they could walk away with something. In my eyes, is pretty much knowing that you're not alone. And if they travel through this course and, this problem, this course in their life, then so can you. Elena, she started off with expressing the gratitude for everybody being there. She was more than delighted to share the fact that, what led her to where she is today. She had a dream, she committed to it, and it became a reality, despite other people telling her it's not going to work or it's a joke, right? So she started off. Now, I don't remember everything in order here, right? But I do remember some pop-up guests, which was great. So they were able to jump in and give their experience in life as well. I do remember these are the things I remember. I didn't write everything down, but I will share that. Bree, Moises, they did step up and they did like a podcast style, because they have their podcast. So they're being asked questions about relationships. They did that, which is great. Spencer wound up standing up and sharing his story and how he's surrounded himself with great people and he's going to become, a better father, better entrepreneur. He's showing up. Like he's just going all out. And that's what I like to see. I like to hear that and see that not just from a men's side, but anybody. Let's see. Martha, she did present herself, her journey and going through the cult, getting out of the cult, how she's helping people with trauma and everything she experienced that got her to where she is today. Um, let's see, who else can I'm trying to think of I don't know the order. Darlene, she stepped up a little bit. I know she was a little nervous, but Darlene stepped up and shared part of her journey. I'm not going to share that here. That's entirely up to her when she decides to do so. But her daughter, Jennifer, not pushed her, but gave her the opportunity to at least share a little bit. And hopefully one day she will come out and open up a little bit because people need to hear, what they experienced in life so that others can get through it too. Um, Allegra, she, I don't remember everything about hers, but I do remember her saying that she was in a cell and a gun was held to her head. And like that was just enough to like make me crumble, right? Because I couldn't imagine what that's like, and let alone being a woman having to go through something like that. And, I hope to have her on the podcast sometime soon. Julie, she shared how she went through a divorce and pretty much left with almost nothing. Um, Junior, JR, he mentioned how he was incarcerated. And the biggest takeaway I got from his story, besides coming out on the other side, and, he's got a lot of great things going for him, but the fact that his wife today waited for him for 15 years, like that's huge. And if you find that, you got to hold on to that both ways. Um, Trying to think of who else. Oh, Tish. She shared how she had a podcast and how she lost her husband, or no, she lost her son. I'm sorry. And the pain and everything and the suffering that she had to go through or something like that, and that kind of led her on the path of starting her podcast. And now I believe she opened it up to different guests and stuff besides people losing their sons and children. But another thing that most people don't think about, and of course I was up there too and shared my journey through life, with my job loss, divorce, etc. But it was all these people in one room with other, people that attended. And it was just like there was a way that everybody connected with one another in some sort of way. And I want to express to you, like, if you haven't been to an event, right, I encourage you to try one. Not that you have to speak somewhere, right? Just go to an event. There's so much opportunity out there in this world that I don't want you to miss it. And, I have two kids of my own, they're teenagers, and I would love for them to attend some of these events I go to or ones that they might choose to do so as well. It's a game changer. It's another thing in life that people aren't looking at. We get up, we do the grind of going to work, come home, taking care of the family, the bills, whatever. We miss out on the opportunity of who we could be, who we could become. And I swear, getting in these rooms and surrounding yourself with these people can change your life, can change your way of thinking, can change how you can move ahead. And it's not going to be like a quick, I'm there, right? Everything takes time, but it's going to get you there. They have your back. They gotten through it because they had somebody else was supporting them as well. So think about that. Think about the opportunities that you have that you could take going to an event. Elena is going to run the event again in September 2026 at the moment. I believe it's also in Texas. And, there's information on all that coming. But I do want to say that, it's kind of funny how sometimes things happen. And we can only go back in time to see how it all pans out, right? We can think and plan ahead, but we don't know that until that point in time. And we go, how did I wind up here? What actions, what circumstances took place before I even got to this place? Um, so we were at a double tree. What double tree runs out of fries at least 2 nights in a row that I know of because we were there 2 nights towards the end that they had no fries? All right. Now they had an event. I get that. Not our event, but somebody else's event. And maybe that's where all the fries went. But I don't know how they run out of fries. I even offered to go to the grocery store and get them fries. Of course, that it was a joke, but that was all pushed to the side anyways. But looking back, if like that didn't happen and a flight getting canceled and some other things along the way didn't happen, then I wouldn't have gone out to get fries to get to know somebody else. That I probably wouldn't have never really got to know, you know, sitting in a hotel room with, 3 or 4 other people, right? Because we're all in a circle. So I want you to think about that. Like, think about those points in time when you can go, wow, I really needed to be there for this reason. But before I got there, I didn't know why I was there. And I even said that when I was speaking, like, I'm here for a reason, but I don't know what that is. And then, you can, like I said, you can only go back. But it wasn't, if it wasn't for that, all that little stuff that happened, then that, few hours or whatever in the whole event, like things just wouldn't be available to you where you can have some kind of communication, right? And get to know somebody and, get to know people that they know. Anything can happen. Um, and another thing that was great too in Texas was that night I wound up meeting 2 other people that lived in Dallas that were on my podcast. Again, never met them in person. So I actually got them together. They're both from Dallas and they didn't know each other. I don't know if they connected thereafter or anything, but it was great to sit down. We went to a barbecue place, sat down for about 2 hours, if not more, talking. I got to know a lot about the area. So if I ever go back down that way, I know who I can call and connect with and sit down and have another dinner and go out and experience the area, provided I have time. So like that's fun. Like this whole podcasting thing has been really rewarding for me. Uh, Not so much as like I get to like, know everything about these people, but it's just, you know, so there's a few, let's go backwards a little bit. There's a few ways like the podcast has helped me. It's helped me understand who I am, where I want to go, and how I want to get there, right? So I interview a lot of people. I don't do a lot of solos like this, but if people like this, then I'll bring more on. But I really wanted to share my journey to Texas because I think it was fun. I had a great time, and I hope some people get value out of this and they can go ahead and apply this experience in their life if they want to do something like this. And so with podcasting, I'm around 150 episodes. And so most of them are guests. Some of them are, the guest comes on a couple times. But that's a lot of people that I never would have met in person that I got to experience through a conversation online at least and get to know them at a deeper level, right? At least that's the goal. And then what happens from there is it kind of spider webs out, right? They know people, be a great guest, blah, blah, blah. You should jump on my podcast, etc. And it just grew. Like I never thought in my life I would be podcasting. I never thought in my life I'd be podcasting 2.5 years uh, and just keep going. And now I'm speaking at events. I'm in 3 books this year. Like what? Like I was not planning any of this. Yeah, I'm excited and I'm so grateful and thankful. And I pray to God every day to keep bringing me things like this. But again, I just didn't see this coming. And so I share this because now it's on the radio too. I know somebody has a radio station and now they're just putting an episode on per week on the radio station, like a whole nother audience that it would never reach before. And that's what it's all about for me. It's all about me providing this space for people to sit down, have a talk, have real, open, vulnerable, authentic conversations, and share with the world. Whoever finds this connects with it. And my podcast is Life's Checkmark, so feel free to share it, and tell everybody about it. If you've been a guest, make sure you tell them that you were a guest and that you need to go check it out. You need to subscribe and share it with other people because that's the only way it's going to help other people is if you share it. And podcasting not only allowed me to get to Tennessee last year to take the opportunity to meet Elena in person at that when she spoke, because she said something. She said something that touched me, that resonated with me and what I went through, that I was able to talk to her. And it was months later that she reached out to me about speaking. So that's all it takes. It just takes a little bit of effort just to say hi and can we talk just to see how things are, see if there's some kind of connection there. I wasn't looking to speak then. I wasn't looking for any of that. Elena's event, if it was in September of last year, would have been my first event that was I would have spoke at. And you know what? I probably would have flopped. I don't want to say I was the best one at her event at all either. I don't want to say I was great in any way. I always want to get better as I do things. But I had 2 experiences prior to hers this past May because I was at one in January up near me. And then I also held my own event for podcasting the weekend thereafter in January. So I had the opportunity to speak twice before her event. What that do? What did that do is it allowed me to, I guess, be more calm, not worried about what other people think, because a lot more, people are always thinking more about themselves than anything else, right? And that gave me space, it gave me time, and I just let it go. Like I probably would have had a whole script, right? And you could read a script or whatever if you want to, but I just didn't. Yeah, and no, I mean, there's a few there I think that had like a list or whatever, right? And that's okay. But I just didn't want to do that. It wasn't me, wasn't what I felt at the time. And I enjoyed doing what I did and what I had to say. It was fun. Another experience I never would have seen coming just from starting a podcast 2.5 years ago. This whole journey has been a blessing. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what more I can do. But the only other option I have now is to help others start a podcast, to help others share their message, not just on my podcast, but on other podcasts, and to get them out there, whether it's through audio or video clips, whatever, right? I can only take so many people. I can only interview so many people. I have a laundry list of guests I had on my podcast, and I have a laundry list of guests that want to come on my podcast. Now they're like not back ordered, but they're just waiting, right? So I my calendar updated, and I'm like, yeah, here we go. But if you're listening to this, and if you ever thought about starting a podcast, I encourage you to do it. Do so. There's so much opportunity out there for you. And there's so many people that want to be a guest more than have a podcast. So just think about it. Especially if you're going to do interview style, right? You can always do solo. You can do anything to help your business, anything like that. But man, just try it. Even if you don't go ahead and shoot it out to the world, just try to do a podcast. Just get that feeling of it's okay. I can sit in my own space, my head space, my heart, your body, your soul, spirit, whatever words you want to add to this, and just be you. You could do solo episodes if you wanted to. Man, I did this one episode. I forget what episode number it is, but I did it around my dad's birthday. He passed a long time ago. And I did it to share what I've learned from my dad uh, in the good ways of the bad things that he did, if that makes sense. And so I told myself I was going to have a hard time doing this because, looking at a camera, sometimes it is kind of tough. Now here I am doing it, and I feel like, this is pretty easy, right? But I'm sharing with you about what it was like for me to go to this event, what I experienced and stuff, and I'm still not done yet. And I'm just giving you like a little tip here, right? So I had my personal trainer at the time. I'm like, look, I don't know how long this episode is going to be, but I really want to do it. And I feel like it'd be so much easier if somebody else is on the other side just listening. Don't have to say anything, but just listen. Um, as if I'm talking to you, right? Because it sounds and looks easier said talking to a camera or Cyclops or whatever you want to call this, right? Because it looks like he has one eye to me at the moment. And so he jumped, he's gracefully able to jump on there and do that for me. And he asked some questions at the end, which I answered. But it gave me that space and allowed me to open up a little bit and share what I really wanted to share, right? And so I want you to take this tip, trick, whatever you want to call it, and just run with it. Like if you're scared of the camera for whatever reason, even, again, even if you don't shoot this out, have somebody on his side, listening to you. And if it's not that, here's one thing I came up with, but I just haven't done it. But maybe it's like your kids or something you want to talk to, or somebody else, and maybe you don't want them in the room. Maybe you don't want them to be virtual. Maybe, uh, you know, for whatever reason, you just don't need their presence, right? You could get a picture of them. Maybe just cut out a small circle and you put it around the camera as if you're talking to them. Because, there's times in my life of podcasting that I do want to share things with my kids. And they're not here. You know, they're not, in this room or virtually where I'm talking to them. But it would be so much easier if I saw like a picture of them, right? And express to them how I feel, what I think, what I'm doing, who they are, what they could become, and just keep moving forward. So, it's just one of those few quick little tips. Like if you're scared for whatever reason of starting a podcast, just get on a camera. Even if you're going to be a guest on a podcast, all right, give it a shot. I love people coming on and they're new, like they've never been on a podcast before. So you just break the ice a little bit. They're comfortable and they're ready to go. So, I mean, like this whole journey of going to Texas is basically due to podcasting for me. I would have never had all these connections, uh, these entrepreneur groups that I'm in now. It's amazing. Anyways, I enjoyed Texas. Had a great time. I learned that DoubleTree runs out of French fries, and I've learned a lot of other things that day too. So the next day, get up, driving back to Tennessee. I didn't plan anything to do in Tennessee that day. So it was just like, get there, I'm knocked out, whatever. Next day, get up, beautiful day. I mean, blue skies. And for me, I had to drive through Virginia. Now, again, TikTok made me do it, right? For whatever reason, this place called the Natural Bridge came up on TikTok. It was in Virginia. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And some people I know in Virginia are like, yeah, you should come down. We should do it sometime. I'm like, all right. Not knowing where it was. And before I drove out to, when I was driving out to Tennessee on my way to Texas, I drove by a sign that says Natural Bridge. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's the same as what I'm thinking of, right? I mean, how many more could there be? Well, it was in the back of my head, for the way home. And I looked it up and it was only like 2 miles off the interstate. And it was the same place I saw on TikTok. Beautiful day. And I'm like looking at the clock. I'm like, okay, yeah, plenty of time. It's like lunchtime, 12, mid-afternoon maybe. And I'm so glad that I wound up stopping, right? Um, I was able, it wasn't a long walk, to see this natural bridge or the waterfalls that they have at the end. It was beautiful. It was breathtaking. It was amazing to have the time to pull aside for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, go on this hike that I wasn't even really planning for and just see what happens. Um, saw some cool animals, said hi to a bunch of people. That's about it. A lot of people sometimes don't really want to talk either, which is, you know, it's it's understandable. So you kind of have fun with that too. Like, how many times can you say hi and ask somebody how they're doing and see if they respond? You know, see who's out there. It's like a game. I don't want to call it a game, but it's kind of like that, right? And maybe somebody needs to open up. I do remember Spencer sharing a story. His flight was delayed or whatever, getting to Texas, and he ran into somebody at the airport, not knowing her, and they had a brief talk or whatever. And he shared all this when he was speaking. And like those are the moments and the times that you need to have. She probably remembers that too, whoever this person was. And that's what matters. You kind of communicated, connected at a certain time, maybe hopefully at a deeper level. And whatever was shared, it could have helped them. You don't know. But man, this natural bridge, I don't know how high up it was. If it said it somewhere, I don't remember reading it, but uh, definitely something worth checking out. And then I was able to just get back to the car and finish my ride home, which is, I think, about another 5 hours. And then just enjoy looking back at the event and start to wonder when's the next one, not just Elena's event, but the next one I'm going to, right? And it's funny how it works out. It opens up doors. I've got all these people on my list, not just to be a podcast guest, um, but maybe we wind up doing something together in the future. I have no idea. But I wanted to share my journey with you to Texas, right? I've connected with a few of them since then, um, and others I'll be connecting as soon as I can. But I want you to start thinking, where are you at in your life? What do you need to do? What action do you need to take that you've been postponing? You've been putting it off. Why? Somebody else telling you you can't, you won't, you're not able. That's not you. You belong over here. You're next to me. You stay here. If there's anything you could take away from this episode, uh, I I hope it's that you could take away that you deserve to give yourself a shot, whatever it is you want to do. If it's running a marathon, if it's losing weight, if it's getting a better job, if it's starting a business, podcasting, right? It could be anything. Give it a shot. I don't know the statistics, but I do know that a lot of people regret when they get older, that they wish they did something with their life that they've always dreamed of doing, but they didn't do it. Instead, they just stayed in one spot to please other people. So let's end it there. Let's end it with please yourself, and the right people around you will want you to be that person where you please yourself first so you can give to yourself, so you can give and pour into others. And that's what it's all about. That's why I continue to podcast. And that's why I keep going to these events, keep meeting people. Hopefully, I can help somebody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave a comment, review, subscribe, share it with somebody. And if you're interested in, knowing more about, what I have to offer, how I can help you, you can go check out lifescheckmark.com. Feel free to connect with me in any way possible, whether it's, through Facebook, email, etc. But, live your life to the fullest as much as you can. Don't let somebody else restrict you.